Will DRX find their way into a reverse sweep? My pick'ems say no, I'm just saying. I would like the points. I hinted some of the group stage picks. EDG though, 2-0 on this one in a ridiculous game two. Find a win for an 11,000 gold deficit. And now we're on to the rift. Is this the last game of quarterfinals, or does DRX find their way back into the series?
Okay. You can hear the roar of the crowd once more. A lot of support for EDG. That same support for DRX as well. We have our eyes on a number of places in this game. The 2v2 matchup in the bot side of the map. Draven, Soraka versus Kalista, Renata. It's kind of crazy when you think about when Draven and Kalista are on the Rift, you expect like Thresh, Leona, Nautilus, and instead you've got Soraka and Renata, range supports.
You know what my eyes are drawn to? Ignite Graves. So,
that is true.
This is JJ.
LPL Graves.
Yeah, I mean, you want to scrap with me on Kindred? Great. I'm going to take Ignite. Good luck in the fight. It becomes very, very difficult. And I will say, you know, so much of it is about who's getting the first hit in these matchups, because if Graves can force out the Kindred ult early, he generally has much better burst coming out of that ultimate to actually be able to knock you down. In those cases, Kindred, you hope you have your E up, so you can actually have the third hit of that E right as the ultimate expires to try to burst him down. But this is a champion that can scale very, very well. You know, getting that first mark can mean a lot, and that is going to require that you do have those pushing lanes here.
Alrighty, we'll make sure to pick push some buttons on your keyboards because you want to grab the exclusive Very Nasus Much Wow emote from Prime Gaming by connecting your League account with your Prime Gaming account. Get that one, spam the emotes, let them know. You can tag it to First Blood or Ace or killing a Nexus, which Def sadly doesn't know about in this series. Why
you gotta do him like that, Free? Why you gotta do him?
Headset's too good, he can't hear me, it doesn't matter. JJ gonna have no problem getting red 2 Raptors on his side, wants to AoE as much as possible, doesn't quite get perfect tags. You can see this Marvel don't even have the red buff tag on them right now, so a little bit slower, a little bit unlucky in the pellet spread. But DRX pressuring, and looks like level 2 is gonna be first for the blue side, as pretty heavy trade here. Fiora, Q should be back up in time, but with the grasp, gets a huge health lead over Kingen.
Very good trade from Flandre in the top lane, and something we have to talk about. This is the first time we've seen a Graves not invade at level 1. Of course, playing into the Kindred does add a lot more risks, not running the flash as well. We'll instead just be doing a full top side into bot side clear, jumping on over to his Grok to secure that level 3, and then we'll now start clearing his blue. Now he does have options to path back up towards the top side of the map. Instead he may look to contest this bot side Scuttle Crab, but with the fact that the bot lane push is going in favor of DRX, and Zeka is actually gaining some good control here in the mid lane, means that he's likely going to path back up towards the top river and look to secure that crab for himself.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he goes. You know, he did skip Krugs, so wanted to get down here a little bit faster, likely going to reverse clear back up towards top, as you say, because it does feel like mid and bot pushing here for DRX. Interesting to note that Zeka is actually playing First Strike Silas. I'm not sure how much value he's realistically going to get out of this, because it is going to be difficult. Victor obviously having very long range, and unfortunately for Pioshik, Mark
lost the 50-50.
We'll see if he wants to try to run up and contest. I don't know that he will. I think it makes more sense to just go to your Krugs and keep farming, but he is crossing. No, never mind.
Yeah, heads back down. I think maybe understands what the path likely was from the Graves. He's going to come up and see, like, it is mine. The reverse clear actually works out for him. He's not stuck at the wrong side of the map when the mark comes over. So yeah, wins the coin flip. First mark is, I believe, guaranteed to always be Scuttle. Once you get a single mark, it then adds things like Raptors as possible play. But at 0, it can only ever go there. So we're going to wait our solid 3 minutes until the Scuttles respawn, and we'll see if we can get it next time.
Do you know where else you can get marks, Freak?
Enemy champions.
Murder, yes.
Yes.
So,
but only pre-planned murder. It has to be premeditated.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, crimes of passion not allowed.
It's one of the things that I think is actually really fun as well with Kindred, is the ability to actually mark people without the intention of going there, right? Like if you mark an enemy top laner, they often get very scared and will just back it up. And I do believe, did he just throw it at the mark? Yeah, he did. He just threw the mark right there onto Fiora, I believe. He just changed it over. It was on Graves at the start, but I think that's what we just saw
you're right,
there. So, showcasing the hey, better watch out. And sometimes you can really make people change the way that they're playing because of that. Of course, he reveals where he is on the map by actually hitting that vision plant up on the top side, but nice poke there onto Mako, and Viper has already gone back.
Ooh, gets over the sweet spot. There's no Q available for Kingen anymore, so Flounder underneath his spot. I want to point out, though, bot lane is a huge farm lead. Viper recalling for an early vamp to try to stay alive in the lane, but Barrel and Defs have been crushing bottom lane.
You can see Pyosik just hovering around the top lane, making sure that Kingen isn't at a real risk of getting dived. Flandre not going to overextend his lead. He knows that the Graves just got back to base, so he's going to reset himself, pick up that Sheen. It's going to make this lane matchup that much more oppressive. So Fiora often a very good matchup into the Aatrox. We'll see if Flandre can get the better of Kingen this time round. Obviously, he didn't have a bad game last game, but definitely wasn't able to really mute or shut down Kingen's Aatrox. As we mentioned, if it wasn't for that interrupt on the TP, this could be a 1-1 series right now.
Absolutely. It would be. You know, you really need 1-2 autos at most actually have killed off that Nexus, so very, very close. Early game going definitely more Flandre's way. I do think that while the barrier to execution is higher on Fiora, if you play it well, I think it's a harder matchup than Jax's. It becomes very, very difficult. Sure. Because especially, you know, if you're looking for any sort of an all-in, it's almost always going to go Fiora's way. It's so easy to actually parry those in 3, which Aatrox really loves in those all-in plays. But JJ here around mid, just a trade of ultimates there from Zeka and Scout.
He's low enough. He's low enough. There's maybe a chance for the Graves kill. There's the smoke screen. Ignite is on, flashing away. Of course, he cannot flash follow. Zeka will survive, but with no summoners, he'll have to make the long walk back to the lane.
And I will say, I'm a little bit surprised to see Zeka playing towards the top side of the map because his jungler was on bot side, right? So generally, you do want to hug towards that side. So playing towards that darkness on the top side of the map does get punished for it. And unfortunately for Pyosik, it is a topside scuttle spawn, so he's kind of over 2 on the RNG of where these marks will go, which means it's another scuttle for JJ, and the mark's going to be pushed back that much further. And it is so important getting to that first 4. Every 3 thereafter is even more range, but the first 4 is really where it feels like you can start team fighting, because otherwise you just get too heavily outranged by most champions.
DRX definitely don't have luck in their favor so far in this series. We'll see if things bounce back as the game continues. JJ happy to make this cross-map trade. We'll steal away the blue buff as DRX going for a very early Drake wing condition. They do have a huge amount of control on the bot lane, 2 versus 2, so it makes sense. And they will convert this and over that early pick to Pyosik.
Nicely done. One objective on the board. DRX. See if they can get anything out of it. The ultimate cross gets all 4 stacks already, but Kingen heals back up reasonably well. His Q, his auto's doing enough. JJ is around, but does not land the skill shots. Has an ulti, still holding on to it. Does Flandre have the damage and their sweet spot's gonna land? And King gets back to half HP. Without a bunch of bonus AD, the ulti doesn't do that much damage, and Flandre doesn't really come out that far ahead.
Yeah, I'm not able to actually get in there on him, and JJ didn't have the flash to go in. We just panned up, but you saw him actually starting out stunned, so was able to actually land that riposte, get the stun on that, then proc all of the vitals there. But it was a great backstep from King, and if he doesn't actually backstep on that end of the line, I think wouldn't have been able to survive under the tower there. Pyosik just hovering around top here a lot, but it hasn't really been able to get much done. It's just been kind of keeping Kingen somewhat safe.
Might. So it's stealable, but doesn't land it. Is it too much from Zeka? He's ulted, and he dies! He invades for a red buff and gives up his own blood.
You can understand the idea, but the timing was just poor there from Zeka. He goes in way too early. Pyosik cannot offer any assistance. And if he'd stolen that red buff, maybe there's a world where that play can happen, but JJ with the ultimate combined with Scout's ultimate made an easy first blood going in the favor of EDG.
Yeah, Pyosik and Kingen looking like they're wanting to try to contest here. Fiora did TP to mid, so Fiora is arriving, but they are pretty heavily committed to this.
The play on Grace is going to be fine, though. Sweet spot hittable, gets the eye. Pyosik gets the ulti. Now, it is going to be an almost certain death. Kill goes to JJ. One on the board now for the Graves, but a Herald steal is a solid swing of like 700 gold.
Yeah, that is pretty big, being able to actually get that Herald away. The aggro is a little bit mismanaged by EDG. You need to keep someone on that same side as Pyosik, because otherwise the Herald turns towards you, and Pyosik gets the free auto on the eye, which is what happened there, allowing him to actually secure it. But meanwhile, on that bot side, Death and Barrel are pushing almost insecure to second plate, and that does give you a clear target of where to actually go with this Herald. Again, JJ first towards the mark, though that mark's spawning in the bottom side, and Pyosik still not able to find his first one of the game.
So frustrating for Pyosik. It can really be a difference maker because
it
can be so quick to snowball the game. But JJ has had good control over these Scuttle Crabs. We're going to have a look back at this. So again,
we talked about timing here. You can see that JJ is already level 6. So even if he was able to steal this one away, but now Zeka's committed both his Q and his E onto the red buff, which means that even if Pyosik was there, they're already down 2 skills, and there's no real way that they're going to come out on top of that. So maybe a cheeky steal attempt with the Q might have worked, but then we talk about cheeky steal attempts. This is a great one here for Pyosik, as all of EDG is on the right side, and it opens up the eye for Pyosik to land the smite and the auto attack. Does cost him his life, but overall 2 kills for a Herald. In the long term, I would say this is going to be worth it, DRX.
For sure, and that was actually so close though, because the Herald was turning there. It looked like JJ almost had the angle to actually get the auto on the eye right as it turned. They are going to drop this mid lane though.
I'm surprised.
I thought it was going to be for Deft.
Yeah, I was convinced they were just going to drop it in the bot lane, get Deft out onto the map. Maybe they can already swap out the Aatrox from the Fiora matchup, and then, you know, you can start taking more towers and more plates, feed them into the Draven. But I know they want to get Zeka a little bit more gold. They know that he has been struggling a little bit. You look at the item difference in the mid lane. Leandri's on one side, not much on the other.
Chapter.
Yeah.
Not the best situation to be in. Of course, there was one auto away from Deft killing the second turret plate in the bottom lane. The Herald Charge would have most certainly gotten that one, plus the next 2. Could have been a good share of gold. EDG with their kills, up 600 gold in the early game. Some more to be farmed though. Mako goes for the ulti. Gonna not. Oh, he does land on a Deft, and that means the combo can land.
Oh, the cash in!
Executes Mako! Viper comes in for the rest. Barrel certainly cannot survive this one. They'll wait. They'll rend him in the end. Viper should get the kill, and it's going to be gold positive, but at least Deft got something.
That was actually so massive though. It's not even just a normal trade kill here. He had 300 stacks on the Draven that he would have lost there. It's 40 gold baseline for the cash-in, plus 2.5 gold for every additional stack there. So that's another enormous amount of gold that he's actually getting. That was worth like 3 kills, essentially.
Yeah, if I can have a quick check.
You can hover the tooltip, I think.
Yeah, if you hover the tooltip on the passive, it'll tell you exactly what he got from the cash-in.
757.
757 plus the base kill
1,000
gold.
gold.
He got over 1,000 gold for that one kill. And instead, he would have missed out on the entire 757, and he would have lost 75% of those stacks. So it would have been, not only the loss on immediate gold, but the loss on potential gold. So this really does keep DRX in it.
Certainly does. And you saw a situation where Deft was like, I'm going to kill both of you. He was very quickly running at Viper saying, even though I'm lower on health, I know I win this. The only reason why they were able to turn it around was because JJ was able to land that ultimate. They could burst out to Deft before he was able to really run amok in that bot lane skirmish. So props to EDG being able to shut him down. But once again, you can see, similar to last game, even though EDG have the kill lead, the gold is still very comparable.
It really is. And I don't think you can favor scaling too much on one side or the other. Definitely you're going to favor the Fiora in that 1v1 in the side lane, but I do think Kindred and Graves both scale very well. Yes, there is a range advantage on the side of Scout, but Zeka on this side is really strong here also. And they're going to go in for it, flash in, but I think it's just I'm not sure if that's a misclick from Mako. I'm not sure if he intended to use the bailout on himself or on Viper, but Viper was 100% HP. He may have just used it for the move speed for the kind of the buff there, not realizing that he could get burst down. But you also have to remember, with the Draven ultimate, you get the bonus damage for the stacks that you have. Yes, exactly. So because he had over 300 stacks, it'll just knock him down.
Well, you got another fight in the top side, gets away from all the weak points, and just staying in the same spot, but still gets all the marks tagged, so a flash, a jump over the wall, gonna stay alive. But that is still a long summoner spell missing out of Kingen.
It is, but that was actually really well played. He knows that JJ is coming over, so he just stands and fights Flandre until his E is back up, then flashes over to E over the wall. So really nicely done, I think, escaping what was a pretty difficult situation. And Kingen is up at least a bit of farm.
Ooh, gets a smite steal, that's something, but it's gonna be enough damage. Might have the ulti, this one does so. And as he's pushed away, not quite a dive, an ulti for a red steal might be okay, but Scout's coming around. Zeka lands the stun, and he makes good in his play from earlier. Everfrost lands, he is out. He will not die to the Chaos Storm. DRX get a red, they get a kill, and they're back in this game.
That's actually so big because that was also the marked target there. So Pyosik gets a mark off that kill.
That's massive, and you saw the advantage of the Cloud Rift, giving him that extra movement speed to be able to dodge away from the Victor ultimate as well. Enough to get him away with his life. DRX maintain the gold lead now, and Zeka's aggression is something that we continue to see, especially when he's on this Silas. This time it pays dividends as he's able to get that kill onto JJ. And as you rightly said, Pyosik now sitting at 2 marks. 2 more to go. and then we can really see this Kindred start to come online.
Yeah, that's big. You know, it took him a long time to get his first mark. Then he gets that mark off the kill there. You know, it is worth going a little bit more aggressive when you can get not only the kill, but that you are getting, you know, essentially flat stats for every mark. You know, it's not just the range, you get bonus damage as well on your ability. So everyone worth quite a bit of gold here. And Pioshik going to be starting up the Herald. They are swapping bot towards top, so they are looking to move heavily towards this, but EDG is going to try to match.
Earlier,
Oh, hang on a second. As you rightly said, Azale, all of EDG looking to contest this. I think they're going to be way too late, though. Yep, that will be secured. They need to pick it up, though. Beryl is pessimistic.
Now ulti, Pioshik can't go for it,
He
so
can't.
they get 300 gold from the Herald kill, but they will not get the charge.
So
it's a 40-second timer.
Just an objective that ends up dropping,
Oh,
but
Beryl?
they have their eyes on it. He wants it. Beryl, is he going to go for it? Oh, he's too...
Slow.
Flashes away, won't be able to secure it, which means the EDG, small victory there as they get that summoner spell out from Beryl. And now with Dragon 2 minutes away, both teams rather, looking to reset. Kingen making his way to bot side and will start threatening their bot tier 1.
Nicely done by EDG, just pushing them off. It kind of looks to me like Zeka maybe could have just ran straight for it at the start, but I would have to really watch it again to be sure. And he was missing his flash. You wouldn't want to give up your life to be able to grab that Herald. Either way, you still do get that local gold, as you said, Freak.
And so earlier, Azale, you were talking about scaling and how it's pretty interesting, right? Because I think one of the main reasons that Kindred is considered quite good into Graves is because she can outscale him, especially when she's more of the traditional AD carry. You can already see picking up the Kraken Slayer. In terms of the straight-up 1v1, I think the biggest difference would be JJ having slightly more HP, but that damage is going to get rampant as Pioshik continues to scale later on into the game. And Zeka on Sylas also has a lot of late-game threat, and we know the traditional teamfight power of the Aatrox. The thing that I think is interesting about these two AD carries is typically they consider to fall off in the sense that they don't, often against solid front lines, it can be difficult for them to gain access because they're relatively short range. Kalista also doesn't build like a typical AD carry does, but there's a lot of squishy targets on both these sides. Kalista has a lot of mobility that can be used. Pioshik in a bit of danger here, will be forced to flash. But I'm really interested to see how these late game team fights actually play out, because as we talked about, it seems like these fights really could go either way depending on who gets the better setup on the objective.
No, I mean, I absolutely agree, right? When you think about Draven, you do think about struggling to actually punch through that front line, not always necessarily having the best range, not always having, the best kind of movement to be able to avoid that. But you look over, so many of these champions are so incredibly squishy. If this Draven gets the 3 crit items, gets the IE, has a rapid fire, that one axe can mean so much. And this is another marked target here. So the third mark there for Pioshik. He's only one away now. Flandre!
Flandre gonna get CC'd for a bit, gonna flash instead of post too much of anything, but would have still been in so much threat afterwards. And has to walk this one out. Drake is up in 10 seconds, and Flandre without a summoner spell might not be able to fight for it. EDG, you can see they're not even playing to the side of the map right now.
DRX first on the objective. Pioshik will be able to get another crab. Felt like in the early game, JJ had full control over those little crabs. Now the ultimate stolen away from Scout. I say stolen away, I suppose you should see borrowed.
Borrowed!
As Zeka's looking to return it.
It's our ultimate summoner. 3,000 health on the Cloud Drake. Everyone else walking in there. JJ would like the smite. It's going to be claimed by Pioshik. No execute yet for Death, still fighting. The nearsighted cannot fight anymore. JJ push them away.
Yeah, going to be able to push him back, but DRX do grab the Dragon. They're second of the game. Going to be feeling really good about that. And they do have some pretty nice champions for the Cloud Soul. Aatrox is always one that I think really does benefit from it because you're already getting the speed up from your ulti, but Zeka could be in trouble, forced to flash.
Damage there as the rest of DRX wants to clear the wave. A little bit of poke down towards Viper. A pullback and a Mega will not find the kill, and in fact, forcing the ulti out of Kindred now as well. Pioshik, and that is a very long cooldown. It'll be up in time for the next Drake, sure. Not a lot of health given.
This is gonna be
knocks down bot lane.
This is gonna be a weird thing to say, but Scout is very good at dealing damage.
Yeah.
And it might seem weird, but when you think about a champion like Victor and Azir, often one of the hardest things to navigate about these champions is for Victor, very linear skill shots, controlling his soldiers. For Azir, yet regardless of the position that Scout finds himself in, he's always able to deal a ridiculous amount of damage, and it's just a management of his skills along with understanding the limits of his champions and the flexibility in his pool. He's just such a talented mid laner. It's always someone that you have to respect and understand that he will always be a threat as the game continues.
Absolutely. This is a guy who, back in the day, did train under Faker, came up, right, has been in the LPL for such a long time. Part of EDG EDG, who is the most successful regional organization. You know, they have 6 championships, I do believe it is, in the LPL. This is a team that are kind of known as the kings of summer, right? RNG are the kings of spring. They're the ones that go to MSI, but it's EDG who owns summer.
And what's crazy is, for the longest time, EDG was the international failure for the LPL, always getting knocked out in the quarterfinals, maybe sometimes even groups, right? They just could never perform on the international stage. And then last year, being world champions was very different to what EDG fans are used to, but now that pressure falls on their shoulders once more. Can they do the back-to-back? They find themselves 2 games up, but DRX are not going down without a fight.
Certainly in quite the battle here. Only a 1,000 gold difference. Scout gonna go ahead and let this wave get crushed as he knocks down these minions and denies as much gold and XP as possible. Zeka only now walking to this lane. He lets the wave die. He'll get the rest of this gold, pick up the 500, and walk away clean, putting the game a little bit closer. 500 gold difference, 2 Drakes to 1. DRX with a lot of pressure though, Kingen, despite being counterpicked here, H-Rock versus Fiora, despite being a player that I think has often been maligned for his laning phases and just overall, you know, he's one of the ones people look at when it's like, they lost, yeah, top diff. But he's actually been winning the lanes, like largely against Wandre in the series. Yeah,
no, I think he's been doing a good job. You know, I mean, largely people look at the other side of the half bracket and they're thinking about Breathe, they're thinking about 369, they're thinking about Zeus, and they're saying, all right, that's the top lane side. This to me has been the bot lane side, right? It's Deft, it's Viper, it's Ruler, it's all these guys, you know, battling it out, who are considered, you know, elite at that level. But it doesn't mean that even some of these players who aren't considered, you know, to be the very best in the world aren't still truly incredible.
Right. Gets one, finally pays back. But there's a ward that got put down. My thing pop. Thank you very much. Control ward killed. Gold handed back for the ghost ward.
It always feels so bad when you're doing a buff and then the enemy jungler just walks up, steals it.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, ulti goes in for more flash or flash. Ooh. That means he's low. Ultiable. Goal! Step by Kingen.
Look at Zeka, he's so far behind them, he actually TP'd in there. They're gonna look for the deep flank.
Big flank, wants a stun, is he gonna find it there? Make it as a shield.
Waiting.
Get ready for the rest, what's he gonna steal? Looks at the Everfrost, nothing else, doesn't want this fight anymore. Immediately pulled out by Viper.
Yeah, but that's Mako's flash. Mako flashed immediately there before he got pulled out. Gonna be a sidestep on that ulti. He's gonna try to redirect it through them, but won't be able to find the angle. Remember, Deft has been farming up these stacks for a long time since his cash-in. He's again back to nearly 300. He's at 265 stacks right now, so it could be another massive cash-in if he can get it. And Pioche, as you had touched on earlier, did hit his 4th mark off of that Gromp, so he has really hit that critical point. Looks like he's going towards a Wit's End next, so not going to be going towards, you know, IE kind of max damage style of build, but still, you know, showing respect over the fact that Scout is going to be such a threat.
Okay, 40 seconds until the next dragon. DRX do have the push in bot, they have control over mid. When you look at the vision around this objective, you can see there's one deep ward around the Raptors for EDG, but not really much else. Not much vision has been invested. It's largely been a contest over these waves. DRX are trying to make their way deeper into the bot side jungle. Zeka will gain a little bit more information, and Kingen is clearing this out. So here we are, DRX now with good control around this objective. The EDG forcing their way through mid will give them access into the river.
At half HP is the mid lane turret, but it's not going to mean much. EDG are first to the river, at least with numbers. King was there, but going to get pushed out a little bit. Attempted poke by Pioche, not going to land for much. Viper a bit low, a little bit low on mana as well, and ulti is down.
EDG do always have such faster push because of this Victor. There's not great wave clear on the other side, so gonna be a little bit more difficult. But Pioche is in the pit. Remember, he can ulti the dragon if he wants. Zeka.
Steal, Berserk hits absolutely no one, and claimed by Pioche gets enough time to jump in, smite, and get out.
Exactly, yes, he doesn't hit anyone, but it's because they all had to run away from the dragon. So Zeka, with the zoning ultimate there, stolen from Mako, pushes them back, gets them the dragon, and now gonna get them the tier 1 as well. That was a beautiful position from Zeka.
This is something we saw a lot from him in the group stages. Zeka stealing away Maokai ultimates to act as zoning tools, and now EDG committing to a dive.
No flash, no ulti anymore. He's gonna drop down. Flana gets the kill credit, something on the cross map. EDG need to wait for the next wave to kill the next turret, but you can see DRX grouped up around Baron. TP is up for the victor. He can join the team. and that 4v4 is more than DRX wants to play for. They'll take Krugs and lose bottom.
So a small blunder there from Kingen. He should have recognized that his team was pathing up towards mid and top, and he was left alone, whereas EDG was still hovering around, and they wanted to secure that bot tier 1. So he ends up losing his life. EDG get another tower on the board, and they get themselves another kill. Now they have claimed control over the gold lead, but it's only a small one. Both these teams are neck and neck here in Game 3, and it feels like that every single time this series, EDG have been able to come out on top. Their team fighting continues to dominate here in this series. Let's see if the same will happen again as we get closer and closer to one big fight.
Yeah, we're closing in on that soul here, 3.5 away. Securing that last dragon so big for them, but Scout is becoming such a problem, you know, going for this really high damage build here. Zeka, though, threatening on the flank.
Wants the stun, but doesn't want to dive into these 4 right now. Scout gonna be able to walk away, no problem. Has the move speed with his evolved Q. Get away from Pingin's W and not get chained back up. You can see a 1,000 gold difference separates these teams. EDG still playing to the edge. Not gonna get locked down by Zeka, who then looks for Flandre and a TP back in. Looks like EDG pushing very hard to try to take his mid lane turret down. Full health and mana bar back on a Scout. Hoping they can find it. Kingen's still on the wing. Still no flash, has his ulti back up. Poke from Mako, be careful, could be too far up. Gonna be attacked. And the Kalista ulted back out, a long cooldown now missing.
Both teams are very squishy, and we are seeing that a single big ability hit can just force a single member out. The biggest difference is the sustain that DRX have at their disposal because of this Soraka from Beryl. Even though the poke damage is good from Scout, to the point at which it is lethal, this man has a death cap already 25 minutes into the game, but the sustain and the healing from Beryl makes it that much harder for EDG to find lasting damage onto DRX.
Yeah, it's becoming very, very difficult, and Mako, you know, has had to be ulted out, you know, in a couple of risky situations multiple times in a row there. Zeka just using the Victor ult to scout out that tri-brush, make sure that no one is actually coming for him, and we'll have to back it up, but I mean, Mako's only survivability comes from one single gem, right? Like, he is so squishy at this point in the game.
And I will say, this mid-tier 1 whole series for EDG has been a pain in their ass. Like, it just refuses to fall. And every single time, DRX are committed to making sure that they hold control. But why is it annoying? Because it makes it that much harder for EDG to move into the bot side jungle and actually set up that control, which we consistently see from DRX. This team is very good at understanding how to control space in the enemy jungle to then give them control of the neutral objectives that they want to secure.
I always like seeing these little things, these little champion mastery things. You know, Pyosik using his W, putting it over the wall so you can see if the wolf goes out and attacks anyone over outside. You know, being able to make sure that he is clearing that out, keeping it safe, and they're trying to have this battle for vision over on this top side. Zeka really wants to finish off this tier 1 tower top that is very, very low on health, as you can see on the minimap, but has not been able to get access to it. JJ and Pyosik are just going back and forth, trying to clear out the vision to allow their solo laner to be safe to push up.
1,500, EDG actually slowly clawing elite. Some of that could be first strike on the Victor, to be sure. But also point out that Deft has been stacking and stacking 362 stacks. That's 362 extra true damage for an execute on his R if he gets someone low enough. There's always a chance he gets that one and cashes in and goes huge.
Yeah, for Scout, he's now up to nearly 900 gold, 800 and something up on the first strike. It's 272 gold on the other side for Zeka, so of course, you know, much more earned as expected there for Scout. But he will still have the opportunity for that additional burst in the later stages of the game, as long as he's not actually getting it poked off him. But it was definitely a pretty interesting, I would say, surprising choice here on the Sylas. You know, not something that you do see a lot. Sometimes you see it taken on Assassins, but we'll have to see if Sylas can actually get into the fight quickly enough before it's actually popped off to have value in a 5v5.
Oh, for sure. Now we see EDG once again contesting this mid-wave. This mid-wave has been a massive point of contention throughout this series, and it's all because of this tier 1. But EDG are saying, this is our time. We're looking to secure it.
Shrilly's gonna wait from Zeka. It's gonna be enough space to knock down the mid lane outer turret. So 3-3. All the outers are dead in this game. And Dragon's Soul is alive for DRX. Their third Cloud Drake, a possibility. EDG would love to keep that away and creep that move speed off of DRX.
Look at bot wave right now. DRX have a massive wave pushing in underneath the tower.
Oh,
but the poke onto Beryl is significant. DRX are just buying time, forcing EDG to lose out on gold. And this reset from Beryl means that it's unlikely that DRX will be able to contest
this play. A step ahead is EDG. They think, okay, you're going to cross-map Baron and we send for Drake. We're only going to send one for Drake, though. The rest of us are already going to try to poke you off the Baron. Down to 11K.
I just don't know that they can do it in front of Scout. I don't see it as realistic, but they're going to try to rush it down. They use Zeka for the zoning ult again, but
yeah,
there's just no way you can do it in the face of this Victor.
The other problem is you have no real tank, right? Yeah. We talked about how squishy everyone is in the face of this Baron, especially with the resistances that it takes away from you. You are so susceptible to Scout's damage, and you can't take the risk. So DRX, they concede the mid-tier 1, they concede the Drake. EDG extend their goal lead to 2.2k now, and they still maintain control over the Baron.
But one good thing working here for DRX, the IE is now done for death, so he has completed that 3 items, is on a very, very big spike, and up to 395 stacks here of adoration, almost 400 now, but he will crest on this wave.
That's money.
That's money, but that's also an execute, right? So that it does increase your power to that one-shot potential here. You know, one auto, and if someone gets low enough, you have that potential execute here to knock them down. So we'll see if that can really come into effect, as this game is slowing down to a point where it really is starting to feel like one of those games that will be decided in one decisive 5v5.
And you know, for DRX, if they lose that one 5v5, the year ends, and Deft goes 9 years in a row, 8 years in a row, like calendar years of not winning a quarterfinal at Worlds, and sits there again with, sadly, only a top 8 to his name. Zeka's international debut, honestly, on the Silas looked pretty good, but has not gotten his team over the line just quite yet. We still wait for the next bit of the game to be played out. 3.5 still to go until the next chance at a Cloud Soul. EDG mostly going to play for the top side. It feels like they are the ones with pressure over the map with a 2,000 gold lead.
I will say, I think the EDG could leverage Flandre in the side lane a little bit more. Perhaps they are concerned about him in the 1v1 matchup, but they really shouldn't be. At this point, Fiora should be able to outplay and get the better of the Aatrox, especially with the level advantage that Flandre does have. And because they can create this threat and then have the TP, they can just dance around the Baron. I like this a little bit more from EDG. They are a little hesitant to overcommit for the time being. They're moving back to mid, making sure that they have this push, but I feel like EDG actually have a lot more options on the map than they're leveraging. Instead, for the time being, they're just slowly farming, making sure that they clear out the vision. Perhaps they're just waiting for the next dragon to spawn.
It feels like that's what they're playing for, right? You know, even with this Fiora, as you're saying, they could play on the map more heavily, but it feels like it's more about the 5v5. You know, even the build here for the Fiora, going for the Frozen Heart here, you know, trying to prepare for that 5v5 against this double marksman. But EDG, they say enough is enough. We're going to start up the Baron here. They're going to pull Kingen up, who's not there quite yet, but it's not going down very quickly.
Again, there's no front line to hold it easy.
It's an awkward force.
The Renata shields aren't enough.
Yeah.
Like, there really isn't a way to sit there on Baron and be like, because if you poke at them, there's no engage. You can't peel off Baron easily and be like, we're full health, and we Ornhorn. We're going to find the move speed on towards Barrel, and he's able to flash to stay alive. Someone healed now down as well. The whole squad stuck in a little ball, but no one finds the engage back onto it. Scout looks at the poke, can't find it in the fog.
At the end of the day, trade of flashes there. Mako flashing in, trying to find the handshake onto Barrel. Couldn't quite do it. Not going to get anything more of that, but yeah, neither team really has the engage. So if both teams are okay farming, it's going to be a lot of farming, right? You know, you're not able to actually find that pick very easily unless you can get someone to face check into you. But because both you guys have highlighted, neither team has a tank. The Baron tank is not that safe. EDG, though, going right back towards it. It is spotted now. What can they do about this?
They're a team fight. Zeka gets interesting ulti. He can throw in a teammate. I'm not sure who he's bound to. He can pick at the start of the game to buy a black spear and tag someone for it. Not sure who his friend is, but regardless, not going to find a chance to use the ulti in that fight.
Yeah, it's possible it's Pioshek. That's the most common generally. You know, when you do have mid lane size, you just grab onto your jungler. So if there's a potential Baron Seal opportunity, grabbing that would have made sense. You could even, you know, have him flash in and then pull him out and things like that. Could potentially be big, but of course, you know, not a team fight ultimate as far as the damage that you're going to be dealing. Pioshek does spot JJ. They have the push here, and there's not a tremendous amount of wave there, but DRX are very far out on the map, and a little bit hesitant to fully commit to that tier 2 because they don't necessarily know where the TP wards are. They don't know if they could be getting flanked.
It's what I call awkward, boys. Both teams find themselves in a very awkward position when it comes to knowing what to do, but they don't actually have the tools to do exactly what they want to do. And it was a really good highlight by Freak as well, talking about the turnaround ability. Like, often when you start the Baron, you get the enemy team to come into that choke point, and then you like Ornhorn into that choke point to then force an engage onto one side of a potentially split up team. But you usually don't really have that unless they're willing to throw Mako in, and he did commit the flash to try and find Barrel, but he immediately then flashed away. What they do have now, though, is control over the mid wave. They see 2 members of DRX top, which means that this dragon should be theirs for the taking, but they have their eyes set on the tier 2, and it looks like DRX don't have the wave clear to stop them.
Yeah, Deft has got to be so careful. You don't want to lose your stacks at this point.
Keep going.
He's got to be close to 500. They're just going to keep going, as you say.
Yeah.
There's no answer here. I mean, the wave clear is horrible for DRX, and that is one of the big advantages that EDG have.
2v1 topside means nothing. Fiora just takes the farm, feels good about it. They will stay a little bit, but keep in mind, it's going to be a 5v4 soon. The difference, though, is Shirelia's diff. It is, of course, it's on cooldown for now, but you still know that Renata can give teammates haste. When you land a spell on a teammate, they get even more above that one as well. And they're going to walk away. Zek getting shunked down to half HP, rended and pushed out. They're still playing in this fight. Fiora TPing in a mid to guarantee the kill. Renata ult, going to land a Fiora, and they're going to catch a whole lot of damage. Scout has to burn his Zonias. Will the re-engage look good? He's silenced, he is shut down! A huge fight for Def! He gets the auto he needed. Flandre is low, gets to repost it, but it's already a second kill in for Zeka. What DRX needed may have been found, and he's got to stack up the red. He's got to stack it and pull it, and it's not gonna happen! 3-0, DRX are back!
A 1,200 goal cash in there for Deft. He gets so much off the fight, and they're gonna head to Baron here, surely. It should be theirs for the taking. DRX are not done at Worlds yet. The gold is tied again, Thaddeus.
Zeka dances on the edge of death time and time again, but with the Reaper on his side, it is he who comes out on top. DRX will secure the Baron, and they will walk away the victors of this fight.
Deft facing with 3,000 gold after that. Gonna be able to finish up the LDR, gonna be able to get a Zeal on top. That was such a huge moment for them. Pyosik also getting a shutdown. That's going to try to slingshot him towards his next item.
But look at this. So initially, Zeka loses half his HP. You're going to watch him steal away the Renata ultimate here and land it crucially onto the two big carries of EDG. Viper and Scout are going to be trapped here. Zeka sees his window to engage, and then Kingen comes in from the flank. The silence underneath Scout as well limits his options of escape, and he gets one shot. Def delivers the final blow, but the moment the Scout is gone, the rest of EDG are easy pickings for DRX.
And look at that riposte there from Flandre, just keeping himself alive against Def's ulti on the side. Viper can't get away, so he's trying to stack up the spears, but all they have to do is silence him. The silence goes down, so he can't actually pop the rend as the ulti is expiring there. Yeah. So not a chance at a kill. Barrel playing that out very, very well. Back-to-back uses on that silence were massive, and now DRX have the Baron. They know Scout is top, so the wave clear isn't here, but he's going to TP. Can they kill the tower first?
They're going to try to get a bit of damage. He's going to show up onto a silence. Renata going to get the disengage, but not enough. Another turret falls, and DRX looking to find a win. They were robbed in game 2 by a quarter of a second, and now the gold lead balloons, grows and grows, 4,000 nearly to their name. Next dragon is a soul.
We haven't seen LCK dominance in a number of years, but with the way DRX is playing, we'll see if they can make the reverse sweep happen. Zeka once again dashes in.
Pyosik, and finding it again, low health bars. Pyosik, yes, he's going to be inside the ulti, staying alive for this one. Middle inhibitor is gone, but the fountain, of course, is on one side of the map, so EDG get their health bars back. Look at a bot lane, but time is limited. Barrel only has so much healing. Summoner Heal and Wish are up. They're going to feel comfortable for this one. Without Kindred, the burst is still a possibility. Bot lane inhibitor turret drops. They cannot find anything too big out of Flandre just yet.
DRX don't need to rush this though, they can take their time. They know that Death is incredibly strong and they have the empowered minions on their side. 2 inhibitors down, now they just need to disengage. Dragon spawns in about 2 minutes time. They need to go back, spend their gold because there are some big items to be picked up back in base.
Yeah, Death Cap coming through there for Zeka. Rapid fire for Deft. He is full build. Full items on that Draven with the rapid fire. You get that crit auto. That's 100% crit here onto one of these squishy carries. That can be devastating. That can trigger Zeka or Kingen to go forward and try to finish off that fight. But it's all going to come down to one final fight here, potentially. 2 minutes until Soul for both teams. And we know, Vedius, how clutch EDG has been in the 5v5.
Certainly do. DRX have been in this position before. It was about an hour ago. They had an exposed Nexus, and they were incredibly close. Now, of course, those towers are still up, but DRX, they have to be cautious of that. They do not want to let this game slip away from them, otherwise their year will end.
And I will say a key difference between this one and the last one. In the last one, I think they didn't feel that they could 5v5 any longer. So they were going towards these split push, these kind of backdoor tactics. In this one, I do think that they feel that they are on even keel. They have been willing to take the fights. They have been looking for these 5v5s. Deft is in such a position of power right now. And Zeka as well with that death cap. We know the burst is huge.
I mean, I think one of the other big differences is Viper, right? He was such a problem for them in the previous game. He felt like a wall they couldn't get past.
Can he get stopped?
Second gets it wrong. And a half second late again. Deft not able to land the push.
Very close there. DRX almost secured themselves a pick, but it doesn't matter. TP now gone for Flandre. That silent threat isn't there. Zeka can stay top now as he pushes in the top wave. We'll have the teleport available. Notice, too, that the bot lane is pushing in favor of DRX. Big crit on to Mako. Should force him back, and this is likely the soul for DRX.
It looks like it will be. They're going to TP back here, and we can see Mako is basing. It's 20 seconds until spawn. Will they try to get out there? Flandre just based and completed his death stance. He doesn't have TP, but they are running out of the base here. It looks like they want to try to find some sort of an angle if they can.
Taking all the vision first, right? Getting everything, so you have to walk through 7 miles of fog of war. Get anything done, then it's down to 4 seconds. Absolutely no wards down there, which means there's nothing you can easily do as EDG. You're gonna guess, what's safe for us? And the answer is nothing. As Drake is burned and slain, and a Cloud Soul comes through for DRX.
And Pioshek picked up another mark. He's up to 8 now on the Kindred, so he's got his second range upgrade already at the 7. He's just going for bonus damage there, bonus stats. He's gonna have that backline access. And I love the purchase here of the Black Cleaver. CDR very effective on the Kindred. And is gonna be cutting down the armor for the Aatrox, for the Draven, as well as for himself.
EDG can feel the pressure now. DRX are slowly but surely claiming more control over the map. These items are terrifying. DRX, they feel like an unstoppable force right now, but EDG have a tendency to find these miracle fights where you least expect it. They are still very well respected in the LPL and internationally. And this team is a team that you cannot afford to underestimate with the names that exist on this roster.
Absolutely. You can see Viper knows the physical damage threat there is massive. Looks like he's building towards probably a last item Branduin's here. But here comes Kingen and Feral.
Kingen wants to walk in. They're going to throw in the run out of them. Scout nearly dead. Gets the Zonia's away. Gets away from the flash. Berserk on the backline. Isn't enough damage. It is not. Run out of drop. Pioshek gets the ulti with 50 health left. And he's going to burn the stopwatch now as well. Flandre needs to live. Gets a bit of healing, but it's not going to be enough. Chicha mostly left alone. Knocked up and slain. And Deft will take another head. And another. And another. And that's going to seal the deal. Scout left alone, trying to clear waves, but DRX are 3v1.
DRX do not falter, they do not give up, and they stand strong in the face of the reigning world champions. They will bring us to another game, and they will take down EDG.
The inhibitors likely will not save you now, but we'll wait till the whole thing falls. Kingen dives in for Scout. Cannot find his man just yet. May in fact drop, but they're on to the Nexus. Deft finally gets the shot. DRX take a game.